I'm Catherine, and this is Extreme Basics. Today we're going to be learning the basics of drawing. Let me just start off by saying there's no one way to draw. These are just some tips to help you get started or improve if you're a beginner. Okay, let's first get started with what tools we're using. This is a regular mixed media sketchbook, but you can use any kind of paper or anything you have around the house. And the kind of pencils we're going to be using are regular drawing pencils, but you can use anything that you have, whether it be a pen, a mechanical pencil, or anything. Okay, let's first get started with talking about our pencils. So with regular drawing pencils, there's different kinds and they have different letters and numbers, so I'm going to briefly explain what that means. So there's the H pencils, the B pencils, the HB pencils, and the F pencils. Basically, the H pencils are the hard pencils, so this is going to have a more sharp point to them, and when you shade, you'll get a lighter color. The B pencils are more soft, so you'll be getting not as pointy of a tip, and you'll have a darker color. Then the HB and F pencils will just be a shade in between the hard and soft. Your drawing pencil may also have a number for it, for example, 2B, 4B, it goes on and on. The higher the number, the more soft, so not as pointy, and the darker it's gonna be. And then it's opposite for H, so the higher the number, the sharper and the lighter it will be. But that's not super important to what we're learning today. You can use a mechanical pencil, you can use anything. Today, starting out, since this is our first time drawing together, we're just gonna do something really simple and we're gonna draw a mushroom. I chose this picture today because we're gonna be drawing from a reference. We're not gonna do anything too complicated. We're not gonna be drawing people yet. We're gonna be going over basic organic shapes, shading, and negative space. Okay, the first thing we're gonna be doing is putting down some basic shapes to get our proportion right. First, we're gonna be going through and just putting in some really rough circles. And when you do this, you wanna be really loose. You can go over things multiple times. You don't wanna be trying to get in details and be really scraggly with your lines at first. So right now, I'm just focusing on what shapes I'm seeing. So first we drew the mushroom top, and I put in a very rough line of where the top side of the mushroom and the underside of the mushroom meet. And now I'm just putting in basically where the stem's gonna be. And even though we can't see this whole base, it's really a good practice to put in objects that you can't see fully, just so that you're getting proportions right and you're not trying to make weird shapes because it's being covered by something else. Now let's do this little mushroom. When drawing from a reference, it's really important to always look at your reference. You may think you know, oh, this is where this line is gonna be, but even if it feels wrong when you're actually looking at the reference, like, oh, that's weird that that line ends there, you should really follow what you're looking at. When drawing from a reference, it's really important to look at your negative space. So the area around the mushroom and between the two mushrooms will help us draw exactly what the reference is. So in my drawing, we can see that I kind of just made this more of a square, when in reality this kind of curves up a bit and then down. And if I was trying to draw this and make it look really good, we would see that my mushroom is probably too close this way and should actually be this way and a little bit smaller. Same with this side. If we look at the negative space, we can see that our mushroom really curves right here, and then the stem goes down. When drawing from a reference, it's also really important to not focus on getting it exactly like your reference. If you're a realistic artist, this can be your goal to get as close to the reference as possible, but for most other artists, the most important thing is to get the feeling across. So because these are mushrooms, it's not a great example, but if we had someone who was really happy or laughing, then the goal wouldn't be to get exactly their face detail correct, but rather to get their expression and the feeling across of happiness or laughing. So now, since we have our basic shapes in, we're gonna go through and actually make darker lines where we want our final line art to be. This still doesn't have to be perfect, but you really want to be able to see where you want your lines to be. start to put in more details. So if we see our mushroom has like kind of a crease right there, just put in roughly where you think it's gonna be. Also, if you can't figure out what's wrong with yours or how to improve it and make it look more like your reference, you can bring in a friend or a family member and they can tell you, oh, I think this needs to be smaller, I think this needs to be whatever. We're at a point where we can go a lot of different directions. You can color, you can outline, you can shade, you can do so many different things. What I'm going to be doing is outlining my art in pen, erasing all the pencil, and then going back and shade with a pencil. I'm not going to be talking about color in this video, but in a future video we're going to be talking about coloring and digital art and lots of other stuff. Okay, I'm just going to be outlining with this Sharpie pen. It's a thin tip, but if you don't want to outline, you don't have to. So I'm just going to go over this really quickly. It's basically just going over your final lines again. I'm also putting in a little more detail. The mushrooms have little polka dots on them, so. Okay, now we're just going to use a regular, this is a high polymer eraser, and we're just going to erase all the pencil lines. Okay, so that's good enough for now. Also, notice I didn't put in the background or anything because I thought today we would just focus on the subject at hand, not background or environment. To make things easier, I'm just going to be shading with a 2B pencil, but if you don't have that, don't worry, you can just shade with anything. So shading is all about making your art look more three-dimensional and putting in shadows and light. So basically with shading, what we're going to be doing is, this is the darkest we're going to be going, pushing down as hard as you can, and then gradually lift until you get lighter and lighter and lighter. Because this is a 2D pencil, it can go this dark and get pretty light. What you're supposed to do is go from lightest to darkest because you can get darker, but you can't really go lighter that easily. But the way I like to shade and what works for me is going from darkest to lightest, which isn't the best, but you'll find what works for you. So because this is our darkest point, the shadow is right here. Wait, sorry, let me backtrack. We can see that the light is coming from the top right corner because the corner of the mushroom is being lit up a lot, and we can see the darkest shadows are on the left side underneath our mushroom top. So this is going to be our darkest point because the light can't hit the mushroom at this point. So I'm not going to be doing this perfectly, and I can make another video about shading if you guys want a more in-depth explanation. First we want to put in like where the shadows will be, and we don't have to put them in perfectly, but wherever light isn't hitting our mushroom is where it's going to be darker. If you're just getting started drawing, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to try new things. Everyone improves, everyone fails, that's just how it is. We can see under this mushroom there's some shading also. And if we were really taking our time, we'd be going really slow, making really nice strokes. But because this is just a practice video and just showing the basics, we're not going to get too crazy about how perfect things are. This mushroom has some darker tones right here, and because we're working in black and white and not using color, we're also going to be putting shading where it's darker. So this isn't really a shadow, just a darker color. Some people use their fingers or a blending tool to actually go through and make their shadows more blended like that. You don't have to. Some people like this style of not blended. It gives more texture, but again, you can do whatever you want. We're just starting out, we're figuring out what works for us, what we like and what we don't like. Again, with the top of this mushroom, we can see that there's a little bit of a different color, not necessarily a shadow. It could be a shadow, but we're gonna make it darker. Also, if you want to put in like little details, you can do that as well. This mushroom has a little bit of detail right here, so we can put that in. It doesn't have to be perfect. Depending on your style, you can make things really cartoony or really unrealistic. Art's really about what you want to do and how you want to make things look. If you feel like you made an area too dark, you can actually use your eraser and lightly erase. Or if you use the finger method, that makes things a little bit lighter too. So this is all I'm going to be doing right now because this is just a basic video. I don't want you to be overwhelmed with information. Just go out and practice and draw as much as you can. And if you want to learn more about shading and coloring and digital art and even animation, you can subscribe to this channel. I make videos every other week. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Bye!